What a season. What a buck.
Welcome to the Strategy Outdoors Whitetail Web Show. I'm your host, Luke Hurst. Some of my favorite dates to hunt during the whitetail season are during the phase I like to call the dominance phase, and that's the last 10 days of October. It's October the 23rd, and I've decided to target a buck that we named Sarge. Usually, dominant bucks during this time of the year are doing their best to set the pecking order straight to make sure that they're the most dominant buck in the area before the rut starts. I have located a rub line heading into a bedding area where I know this buck lives, and I've went in self-filming to try to kill him. Now, one thing to know before this hunt unfolds, it happens fast, it happens quick, and as a self-filmer, sometimes it's hard to lay down the film. So the footage may be a little out of focus, a little bit shaky, but I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised who we see on this hunt. It's the morning of October the 23rd. It's balmy this morning, but breezy, and there is rain pushing in. A cold front is going to push the warm air out. It's going to rain all day and possibly again tomorrow in spurts, but the temperatures are going to plummet. They're going to be down in the 30s at night. Right now it's like 57 degrees, 60 degrees, somewhere in there. So it's going to bring that October cold front that we all are always dreaming about, waiting on, looking for. It's going to be here. My favorite days to hunt in October is between the 20th and the 31st. Basically the last 10 days of October. With the 24th, 25th, 26th right in there, I've always seen great deer movement. I've been able to rattle bucks in. Definitely the time to be hunting. So we're getting a cold front in just the nick of time because today's the 23rd. So I'm in a woods where we have two shooters that I know of. The buck I call Sarge and a buck we call Kicker. Sarge is a 5-year-old, great big 8-point with bladed brows. His rack tilts forward down over his nose like a sergeant's hat, so we call him Sarge. I actually filmed this buck at 3 years old, and he was featured on a Strategy Outdoors web show. And so today, Sarge is probably pushing 140. Beautiful buck, real tall tines. If we get a chance to put an arrow in him this morning, we're going to do it. And then the other buck, Kicker, is a 4-year-old that blew into a giant this year. And he's still not got the mass, but man, the tine length and the beam length is incredible. He's narrow and tall, tight and tall. So looking forward to seeing him. He's a 4-year-old. I definitely will take him as well. But we're going to keep our fingers crossed and hope this cold front pushing in is going to have them on their feet this morning. put an arrow into Sarge. I can't believe it. I just finished my interview with you guys, and before I even turned the camera around, I heard footsteps. It's just daylight enough to start filming. It's overcast this morning, and it ain't getting bright real quick. And I turned to look, and as soon as I seen that rack tip forward, I knew it was him. I got the camera turned around. There wasn't a whole lot of opportunity to film because there's so many leaves where he was. He was moving through a bunch of foliage. But he got to a spot that was, I ranged it at 30 yards and clip my release on and get ready. He walked through that gap. He walked on past it into another gap, and he was starting to quarter away from me. And I put the camera there. Sarge walked into the frame, quartering away. I stopped him, put my 30-yard pin on him, but I think he'd moved out to about 35. And the arrow dropped and hit him quartering away right in the flank. So I'm hoping that arrow is up in him. I didn't hear him crash, but he run about 50 yards and I heard him stop. So I don't know if he's walking, if he's laid down or what. Definitely going to give him some time. We've got all day except for the rain moving in. I don't want the rain to wash away the blood trail. So I'm going to have to go back and review the footage, see if I can tell where it hit him with this low light condition, and then find this buck dead at the end of the trail this morning. So October 23rd, what we wished for and hoped for was that this cold front moving in would have them on their feet late this morning, and it was a fact. Sarge come in here at 7:48, and I just put an arrow in him, and hopefully we got him. Strategy Outdoors, baby.
There he is, guys. There he is. Laying across the creek. Good deal.
Well, guys, here he is. It's pouring down the rain, as you can see, and we killed him just ahead of the cold front. The cold front is now meeting the warm front, and that's what's producing all this moisture. And the hit, to me, was a severe quartering hit, and it scared me. And I wasn't for sure what to do. And I knew the rain was coming in. I checked the radar on my phone, and I knew I only had about an hour and a half before we was going to get downpoured on. So I waited for an hour. I got out of the stand. As you saw, we found a great blood trail. I tracked the deer for almost 200 yards into a creek bottom, into a big creek, and there he laid in the creek. This is a buck we got a lot of history with. We call him Sarge. He's just got this real cool rack. He's a big, heavy 8-point. He's always been a dominant buck in this area for the past couple of years. His rack is kind of tilting down over his nose, and it just makes him look like a sergeant. So we called him Sarge. And this is one of the bucks I was targeting when I came in here this morning. He's 5.5 years old. I've got tons of history with him. Video from when he was 3.5, and was on a previous episode when I killed a buck in 2015. And now here in 2017, I finally caught up with him as a mature stud. Huge neck on him, big old body. And Strategy Outdoors is on the board. The old beam and arrow and the Rage Broadhead quartering away done the trick on him, and I'm just happy this morning to have put this deer on the ground. Strategy Outdoors.
It felt great to be able to put a strategy together for a particular buck and go in and harvest that deer. Sarge, well, I'm sure, was working a rub line and some scrapes on the way back to his bed that morning ahead of that cold front, which brought all that rain there in that final interview, as you saw. You know, I was self-filming, and the footage was a little bit dark because it was just after daylight, and of course a little out of focus because there was a bunch of limbs and I wasn't able to adjust the focus because the deer was moving through my shooting lane so fast. But it was well worth the effort I put into trying to film that hunt to be able to lay down the footage for the Strategy Outdoors Whitetail Web Show. Thanks for coming to the Whitetail Web Show here at Strategy Outdoors and checking out our footage, and we hope that the next time we have an exciting episode, you'll come back to watch it right here at strategyoutdoors.com.